Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Kurt Roth, and this is the 505 Sports Venture Program. I want to thank our host, Steve Davis, who's sitting up the stairs in the president's chair, and behind the glass, my producer, Adrian. We're high above Central Avenue in downtown Albuquerque, and we're glad you're here. We have a special guest today, a basketball expert, a figure that's known to any Lobo fan, and we'll get there in a second. But what we want to talk about, well, we're in the middle of a drive to the end of the basketball season. If you're a Lobo fan, you know we had a rough weekend, another tough home loss, but because of the competition, because of the level of play that they are at the Mountain West is at, Lobos are still in the top 25 in the net. I assume they'll fall out of the rankings this week. However, they're playing at a high national level. We still expect this team to get into the NCAA tournament, although the road is going to be rough. And at 505 SVF, we are in the midst of our retention month. So we are looking to raise funds, support our student athletes, and then you can go to 505sports.org for information about that. Again, you look at the Lobo roster. We see a sophomore and two freshmen making significant contributions to the game talent. Do we want to retain them? Sure. Is there something called the transfer portal? Well, you know all about that. So, Lobo fans, we're asking for your help. 505sports.org. Go check it out. Give us a hand and join our team. We'll be back right after this short break.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro V. From pros to prep, all your favorite action.
Attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Like I said, we have a special guest known to all Lobo fans, Lobo beat writer Jeff Grammer. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. It's been, I know you've been on my podcast a couple times, so appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's great to have you. And before, everybody wants to talk about Lobo basketball.
Sure.
We're going to get into it in a second. But there's a lot going on at the Albuquerque Journal. Like, what's the latest?
The obvious stuff is we're trying to catch up to a digital age that probably started before we were ready to make that conversion, but we're playing a little catch up. We still have the print product, obviously. We are pushing forward on some podcasting. We have a whole podcast studio now. We are calling it the Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network. Trying to kind of break from the idea that a newspaper is just an actual newspaper and remind people that we can do video, we can do podcasting, we can reach you in your hand, in your smartphone, which is where everybody seems to be consuming their news now. So a lot of stuff like that, and yeah, right. There are still people. that pick up the newspaper, and that is still a huge part of our daily product. But we're trying to find people where they are instead of having people come to us.
No, I realize it. I am still old school. Get the coffee going, the bathrobe on. It's still dark. I go out and grab the newspaper. I love to flip through it. I love the print. And you guys do a great job the way it's set up. I know the budget's limited. You guys have been really fighting a good fight. And as someone who's also involved in politics, local news is the most important thing. So it's great if you even care a little bit about Albuquerque, you got to subscribe to the paper. Yeah. It's really easy. They make it simple, even if it's just digital. But I love the paper. It's delivered on time every morning, and I can't wait for it. So check it out, the albuquerquejournal.com. All right. we're kind of halfway through. Actually, one more game than halfway. The Lobos have now started the backstretch, and a tough one on the weekend. A tough one with the getting swept by Vegas. And just a side note, really the only team in the
Wasn't able to bother UNLV as much as I thought it would. If you're playing a team that has a size advantage on you, you got to be, Richard Pitino has said it a lot. You got to be a pest. You got to be scrappy, as he says. I don't think the Lobos were nearly as scrappy as they needed to be on Saturday, and that surprised me a little bit. UNLV's not a bad team. UNLV's A game is still pretty good. UNLV's not A game can still get beat by 32 against Air Force. So not entirely a surprise that UNLV was capable of coming into the pit and winning. A little surprised in my mind. I think that the Lobos weren't able to dictate the terms of the game a little better.
Yeah, both games.
Kind of floor general stuff, setting everybody up. But he found a way to get, basically back down Jalen House several times into the paint and either dish it or score. He had a turnaround jumper that I hadn't seen really all season from him. He's a great young freshman. I mean, he's 17 when he started school. He's 18 now. Great young freshman, second best freshman in the league right now, and he's going to be really, really good. The problem is I hadn't seen him do that much of the scoring yet this year, so maybe it was a little bit of a surprise. But I wish, especially a Naismith, watch list guy like Jalen House could have figured out something to have stopped him, basically.
Yeah, that was tough to watch. You're right. You mentioned that he was 17 when he got to school, just like JT Toppin, and
Right.
we'll talk about Toppin a little more in the next segment. And then straight on, it's your traditional road trip. Lobos don't come back. They play in, I believe it's a sold-out arena in Lawler on Tuesday night. Tuesday. Tonight's Monday, and then
The thing you can look at kind of both ways with UNM right now, they still have a lot of really tough road games ahead of them. They have more opportunity in front of them than any Mountain West team.
Right.
Now that's how you spin it, right? They have more opportunity than anybody, but they sure would help their cause if they get even just one road win out of the tough four left. Just one really helps their cause.
I agree. Hold that thought. We'll be right back after this break and a word from our sponsor.